why can't it go right? Just because it went badly last time, what exactly is stopping it from going right this time?
Are you aware of your triggers? Are you aware of how you're conditioned? And have you proactively chosen in advance how to condition yourself to have the life you actually want versus the one that you're autopiloting towards? Going live. That means we are officially live. That's what it says. That's what it says right there.
That's what it says. All right.
You got your mic set up, brother?
No, not really. Everything. If you're a member of Next Level Nation, or if you have heard us speak on anything, you know we are often jeffing forward. So today we are running a new platform. For those listening to the repurposed, you shouldn't notice anything different. But anybody who is seeing this across the platforms, if you want to join us, we are going to be live here in our Next Level Nation private Facebook group every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alan and I will speak from 6 to 6:40, and then there will be a link in the comments to this live below that will have a Zoom room where you can go and you can connect with like-minded individuals. You can talk about what we talked about. You can meet the team and really, really build your network and really meet people that are going to help you get to the next level. You can help them get to the next level. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
So Kevin and I are realizing very quickly that it's the community and the culture of the community that helps everyone create massive change in their life. So we want to replicate that as much as possible. Okay, so today, week 51.
Wow.
51 weeks. Wow. 51 weeks, man.
Just broke my hand.
So stop letting your past control your future. Kevin and I are we've got prep here, and we're just going to kind of, well, let me pre-frame this. Okay, whenever I'm coaching, and you've probably heard me say this before, my main intention is to help this other person become more successful and fulfilled. How do I do that? I look at their past, I look at where they are now, I look at where they say they want to go versus where they're headed. And I try to help them shift what they say, think, do, feel, and believe in order to get closer to alignment with their highest self, which in this case is success and fulfillment. And so today, we all have a past that has conditioned us to be a specific way. And what we want to talk to you about today is how to recondition that in a way where you have the future you want rather than the one you're already sort of headed towards based on that past conditioning.
Do you mind,
What do we got?
hypothetically, if I was just to change something, see where it says our names?
Yeah.
I feel like we don't need that, so I'm going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I say do it.
You want to run this? You want to do number one?
Let's do it. All right. So the very first thing here I want to talk to you about is identity. So all of us have an identity. You can think back to when you were a child. And for me personally, I was told, Alan, you're really good at math. You're not so good at English. Okay. So that I allowed to leak into my identity. What your identity really is who you think you are versus who you really are. So we all have an identity, and that identity controls much of the actions we do and don't take, what we say and don't say, what we think and don't think, what we feel and don't feel, and what we believe and don't believe. So for example, I want you to imagine that, and this is hypothetical, that you were in a car accident and you hurt your head and you were in a coma, okay? And you got such a bad concussion that when you woke up from the coma, you had no long-term memory. In other words, you had no idea who you were. And you're sitting in a hospital bed around all your friends and family, and you don't know or recognize any of them. And they're saying, okay, I'm your mother, I'm your father, okay, I'm your aunt, I'm your sister, that kind of thing. And you don't recognize any of them. You have no memory whatsoever of who you are or who these people are. And they tell you that you used to be a Navy SEAL. You used to be a commander, male or female, in the Navy SEALs. And you used to go on these missions, and you were unbelievably disciplined, and you were a leader. You were an amazing leader. Okay, that's one version of this story. Now I want you to imagine another version of this story where you didn't know who you were, and you were told that you were really kind, and there's nothing wrong with this, but you were a bus driver. Okay? There's nothing wrong with bus drivers, and there's nothing wrong with Navy SEALs. But how differently are you going to behave moving forward? If you truly believe you were a Navy SEAL in that hypothetical past life, that's going to leak into everything you say and don't say, think and don't think, feel and don't feel, believe and not believe, and do and don't do. Why? Because Navy SEALs, quote unquote, act differently than bus drivers. There's no right or wrong, but that's what we want to help you understand, is that you've been conditioned to believe you're a certain way up to this point. What if you could be a Navy SEAL? And that's a metaphor for anything you want in life.
You ever have the bus drivers that would just hammer it over the speed bumps?
Oh yeah.
And I remember one time I smacked my head off the roof. It was something very interesting. Just remember this: at the end of the day, you are the person, and you're really the sole person who can control your identity. And your identity has to do way more with your internal. Like for me, one of my identity points, I guess is what I would phrase it as, is the person who can take more pain than anybody else, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. Now, that's not always a positive identity, but there also is a way to leverage that in a positive place. I like this setup.
Pretty cool.
I like this. I also, for those watching right now, I also can put it so it comments on the screen, whoever's commenting. But the problem is it's this thing. But
that's not set up yet?
Not yet. I can set it up. I'll set it up when you're doing the thing.
Okay.
When you're doing your next one, I'll set it up.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. No. I mean, I'm going to, I'd like to do something. I don't know about any of you, but I used to play baseball. And when I played baseball, I was pretty darn good. But a lot of times we will let one of our failures, like we're talking about your past, I would let one of my failures control my future. Okay. So I was up to the plate. I was 11 years old, I believe. The bases were loaded. I was one of the best hitters in the team. It was the last inning and there was 2 outs. So I was the person sent up there to win the game. Now inside, I was terrified the whole time. If you've heard us speak of this before, I always thought I got lucky. When I played baseball and I got hits, I assumed that I was lucky. When I passed tests, I thought I was lucky. That's a whole nother thing from my past that was controlling my future. But I was up to the plate and I had the chance to win this game. First pitch, I watched it right down the middle. Second pitch, another fastball right down the middle. Watched it go. The third pitch, I literally closed my eyes and swung and I struck out. I lost the game. And I remember going to the dugout crying. I remember crying the whole way home. We gave one of my buddies a ride home that night. I remember burying my face in the side of the window, just crying. And my mom saying, like, just deal with it. It's not a big deal. And I was very, very sad because I felt like I let a lot of people down. Okay. Now I played baseball for probably 5 years. No, more than that, 6 or 7 years after that. And I remember every single time we would be getting close to the end of the game and there was an opportunity that would present itself similar to that, where we might be down by a run and the bases would be loaded. I always used to say, please do not let me get up. Like, I do not want to be the person that has to step in the plate here. I don't want to have to swing at this pitch and try to get us a hit. That literally controlled my future for a long time. And the problem is, it's not just controlling your future, it's controlling your current. So every single game I went in hoping, praying that I didn't get up to the plate and have to be the last out again. Now, fast forward, I believe it was 2 or 3 years. Same thing happens. We're in a big game. I believe there was runners on second and third, last inning, and 2 outs. And I had the same opportunity. But in my mind, I connected up. Look, just because it happened last time doesn't mean it's going to happen this time. And I'm pretty sure I ripped a double. And I'm pretty sure we won the game. Now, I had a lot more of those opportunities as I got older. But imagine if I allowed that strikeout that has happened numerous times. Like, I can't even count how many times I've struck out. But why do I focus on that one? Because there was so much pain associated with it, right? You're going to remember the painful times in your past. And those are usually the ones that are really going to control you, right? If I said, I want you to close your eyes and look back on the best moment you've ever had, I bet you have a pretty good idea. If I was to say, take a look back on some of the worst moments you've ever had, you're going to have a pretty good idea. So those are really the things that are controlling our futures. And at the end of the day, you're going to strike out. But you're not going to strike out because you struck out before. I think that's an important distinction. Just because it happened doesn't mean it's going to happen again.
Because that presupposes that Kevin didn't get any better at baseball.
It's valid.
You know, you had 5 years of experience from that first strikeout to that second one, or 6 or whatever it is.
Something.
So it's like that same fear was still there, but Kevin's abilities improved. Just because you got laughed at in class when you were a kid doesn't mean you're going to get laughed at now. Why? Because you're an adult now. You might know a lot more than you did back then. So the real reframe of this entire thing of stop letting your past control your future, it really comes down to we all have been conditioned to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So look at what has caused you the most pain, and then look at what's given you the most pleasure. And that's most likely the way you've been wired, and you can rewire that at any time. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today was knowing your traumas. So speaking of, there's a good analogy for this, and I forget who says it. It might be Dave Meltzer, one of our mentors. But basically what he said is that a cat who sits on a hot stove will never again sit on a cold one either. In other words, the cat doesn't understand. See, the cat just says, okay, stove equals bad once they get burned. They don't realize that some stoves are bad to sit on because if it's not on, it's cold. So that's kind of all of us, right? Just because you got laughed at once doesn't mean that's going to happen again. Just because Kevin struck out once doesn't mean that's going to happen again. The problem is most of this is subconscious. And I want to explain that briefly as well. You have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious mind, and then you have your unconscious. Your unconscious is your genetics. Your subconscious is your mammalian brain. It's the emotions and a lot of the thought patterns that you have. Okay, that's the part that beats your heart 100,000 times per day without thinking about it. It's beating all of our hearts right now. We're not thinking about it. Conscious mind is the part of you that's listening to me right now. The conscious mind is the commander of the ship. But the crew needs new instructions. Okay, and that's really what we're talking about here today, because the crew is rowing based on your past, not necessarily on the new instructions. So knowing your traumas. I have someone who I know very well who dealt with sexual trauma growing up. And this person in particular, and I'll keep it anonymous, is extremely, extremely attractive from my perspective. And she's afraid to be too attractive because in the past she attracted negative sexual energy and got very hurt. And so this person is still scared to be seen in that regard, to be seen as sexually attractive. And unfortunately, this person to some extent tries not to wear very sexy clothing, tries to not really accentuate her really incredible features. But what's unfortunate about that is that being more attractive doesn't just attract bad, it also attracts good. How many people could this person impact if they weren't afraid to attract others' attention? And so just understand your traumas and understand that they are probably causing you to do things or not do things, more likely not do things. And I'll give you an example for me. So I have a hard time sometimes expressing my truth to other people. So for example, mathematically, I studied math a lot. I feel like I have a good mathematical brain. And a lot of times I notice a friend or family member who's making a decision that I don't think is financially sound. And in the past, when I tried to illuminate maybe the fact that that wasn't a good financial choice, they got offended and they got upset with me and I hurt the relationship. So now I have trouble telling people like that's not a good choice. One person in particular, they bought an $18,000 car while they had a ton of debt, and everyone else was so proud of them and so excited. And I just said, I love you, I care about you, but I don't think that was the best choice for you right now because you're in $100,000 worth of debt. Like that car is going to depreciate in value very quickly, and I think it was overpriced. Now that was my truth, and who am I to tell her what she should and shouldn't do? So I understand that, but I also know that my financial mind, my math mind, actually can help people, because it can help them make better choices. So I either suppress my truth because I'm too scared to offend somebody, or on the off chance they might learn something, I have the courage to actually say it and say, this is just my perspective.
And one of the important things when Alan's talking about knowing your traumas is sometimes you have to dig for them, and sometimes you have to search for them, right? We're talking about a fairly high level of awareness in Alan and the person he's talking about because they know their traumas. So something that I don't talk about often that not a lot of people know about me is several years before that suicidal moment when I was sitting on the edge of the bed in New Jersey, I actually had other suicidal thoughts. I was living in Boston at the time. I had, again, what was perceived as a great life, but I was just miserable. I felt empty. I felt stuck. I felt trapped. I wasn't excited for the future. Not only did I not know what the future held, I just wasn't excited for it. And I remember our bedroom was on the 3rd floor of this unreasonably nice apartment in Dorchester, and in an area that they had just redone. And I remember sitting up there just thinking, like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm just sick of this. And I don't know what this was, but I just felt sick of living. It felt stale. It felt just hopeless. That's the best way to explain it, is it felt hopeless. And I didn't know why. I didn't know why I felt that way. I didn't know what happened in my past that made that present part of my life feel so hopeless, feel so dark, feel so broken. And in order to understand that, I had to make friends with my past. But in order to make friends with somebody, you have to meet them first. So this was my first step in terms of going to counseling, going to therapy. And this is a reason I talk about it so often, is I think it's so important. I remember having to parallel park on the mean streets of Boston. I think it was like Beacon Street. It was like a main road where I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to parallel park here. And I had to bring quarters, and it was a whole thing. But I remember going up these creaky stairs to this therapist's office. And I remember talking to her and just crying. She was asking questions about my childhood. And I was like, honestly, I don't remember much. I don't remember much of my past. And if you don't remember it, how are you going to understand how it's plaguing you right now? So we went through this, and it was just hard. I remember crying a lot, but having a lot of breakthroughs, and then having the courage to talk to my family about what happened to me as a child and the things that I might not remember. And that really opened a lot of doors for me. So the whole point of what I'm saying is, a lot of us, I think, run from our past, right? We run from it, and we hope that we can get far enough away. We hope that new job, that new relationship, that new car, that new house, that new tattoo, that body will make our past go away. It'll remove the hooks from us, but it won't. You have to get clear on your past to the best of your ability. And again, I think therapy is a great way, because you'll have support doing it, but you'll never be able to outrun that. You can never, if the backpack is still on you, it's going to be heavy. You have to figure out what you're carrying with you in order to understand how it's controlling not only your current, but your future. And again, therapy is one of the best things I ever did that really, really helped me with that.
We have a question that came in.
Hammer it.
Is there ever too early of a time to dig into your traumas? I know I've heard about healed versus open traumas. How do you know when it's time?
Amy went away. Robot Amy. I would honestly, so 2 things. Number 1, I am by no means a professional when it comes to trauma. So I will lead with that. But I do think it's the open wound versus the scar. I think better than anybody when it's time to go searching. I would say make sure you're doing it in a private, safe place. You don't have to do it on a podcast in front of a bunch of people. That probably isn't the way. I would say take some time for you, take some silence for you, take some safety for you, take some grace for you. And then maybe dig isn't the best term. Maybe it's uncover. We can start with uncovering, but make sure it's a scar before an open wound. That's the advice I'd give.
Super powerful. Amy, can you read the last part of that question? You had cut out. I know your internet has been a little Jeffed.
Yeah. Do you know what time to dig into your traumas?
When it's the right time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send us a pigeon.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Or an owl. Send us an owl. Harry Potter references. When is it the right time? I would say that if you're asking the question, it's the right time to start the process of uncovering. I do think exploring yourself, exploring your past, exploring your triggers and your traumas is so important. I didn't start that journey until after my car accident at 26. And I can tell you from experience that it's been really hard, but it's been unbelievably rewarding. I definitely, what do I want to say about that? How do you know when you're ready? In a weird way, you're kind of always ready, but also never ready. In other words, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's just like when you go to the gym. This is the best analogy I have. You want to stretch your limits, but you don't want to get injured. So you've got to stretch the rubber band and get outside your comfort zone, but you don't want the rubber band to snap. So like Kevin mentioned, go to a safe place. Do I feel safe here? Do I feel connected here? And if you feel safe to be vulnerable. And that's why therapy is so powerful. And coaching as well. If you have the right coach, it's a safe, private place to start to uncover some of that stuff where you're not going to be judged or, you can kind of this is the analogy I use. Whenever you dig into your past triggers or traumas, it's like a dog that was in a pond with mud and then they like shake it off and mud gets on other people. It's not because the dog is mean or wants to get mud on anybody. It's just he's trying to get the mud off himself or herself. And I think that that's kind of what this is like. So just make sure you're in a room with people who are willing to like have grace through that process.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this or listening to this, it's obvious that you want to get to the next level of your life. We can help you get there faster.
In 3 months from today, your life can look completely different. Here's how. Group coaching. Here's what you're going to get. So you're going to get bi-weekly calls with Kevin and myself. You're going to be on a team of 10 like-minded, growth-oriented individuals. You're also going to be in a WhatsApp chat with Kevin and I and the entire team, 24/7 access to chat. Also, you're going to get bi-weekly progress reports and peak performance tracking.
Guys, this is a great opportunity for those who can't afford one-on-one coaching with Alan and myself. We have helped dozens and dozens of people get to the next level at this point. Go to nextleveluniverse.com, click group coaching, or find the link in the show notes.
Talk to you soon.
And this is the other thing too. And this is something Alan and I talk about a lot. You can only understand and face your trauma to the level of awareness you have in life. Like you and I are overcoming, or we're facing traumas that we didn't even realize we had fairly often. And I would say one of the reasons is because we're really focused on getting to the next level. So not just in business and fitness and relationships, but in terms of awareness. As you become more aware, you also become more aware of yourself and you become more aware of, oh, maybe that's why I egoed up in that situation. Breath work is a great hack for this. What was it, 472 with Sam Skelly?
402.
402? 402. 402, my goodness. We did an episode with the amazing Samantha Skelly and the Meetup. When was the Meetup?
Oh, it's 402.
402. Still, it's 402.
Yeah.
So episode 402, if you go on YouTube, I always do it that way. Ellen does it on the audio platform, I believe. But she goes through a guided breathwork practice, and it is unreasonably powerful.
So good.
In terms of helping with trauma.
The last 10 minutes. So it's a 6-minute breathwork thing. But the last 10 minutes, the first 3 or 4 of that, she explains how to do it. And then she takes us through it with amazing music. So good. I've used it dozens of times. Highly recommend that.
I actually listened to the song is, I don't remember this song. It's by Celine Dion. I listened to it today and I was crying.
So good.
It's a trigger for me now.
Those songs are perfect. Yeah. If I wanted to interject and basically say this. So if anyone out there watching this on Facebook, or I guess we're only streaming to Facebook right now. So
yeah,
if anyone's out there watching this right now and you're like, you know what, I'm not conditioned. Okay, I will prove that incorrect right now. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Every single person knows exactly what that is. And if you don't, good for you because you don't watch television. But like that is a conditioning. That's a trigger that has conditioned a response and a craving. McDonald's wants every single one of you, including me, to have a certain association to that song. Okay. And that's what branding and marketing is. If I were to start singing an Eminem song, every single one of you would have a certain feeling. And you'd probably have memories come up of when you first heard that song and different things like that. We're all conditioned. So if you're out there thinking you're not conditioned, it's not true. You're human. So you're conditioned just like me. The question is, are you aware of your conditionings? Are you aware of your traumas? Are you aware of your triggers? Are you aware of how you're conditioned? And have you proactively chosen in advance how to condition yourself to have the life you actually want versus the one that you're autopiloting towards? There are countless studies who talk about this, and it's basically like 90% of our actions are subconscious. A great analogy for this, you've heard us talk about it, is the car. When you first drove a car, it was unbelievably difficult. I failed my first driver's test. I was
Interesting.
Yeah, I failed.
Interesting.
I had to parallel park.
I didn't get that.
It was in Milford, Massachusetts. Oh, it was brutal. I was crying. I was so upset. But it was so hard for me at the beginning of driving. Now I drive every single day and it's totally unconscious. Not totally, but like it's much easier. Why? Because you've been trained. You've been conditioned to learn how to drive. And that's what we're talking about here. That's the analogy for this speech. How easy is it to drive every day for you now versus when you started? Much easier. Now you can probably talk on the phone, listen to an audiobook or a podcast. That's an analogy for life. You're headed somewhere. And then when you miss your exit, suddenly you're like, whoa, wait, I missed my exit. Okay, turn off the radio, turn off the podcast. Okay, where am I? I'm lost, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to wake you up from your unconscious conditioning to make sure that you're getting off on an exit you actually want in life. That's the best analogy I can use. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was triggers. So there's a great book by, who wrote Atomic Habits?
That was James Clear.
James Clear. And he has something called the habit loop. And it's basically trigger, cue is the trigger, craving, behavior, reward. Okay, so when I say ba-da-ba-ba-ba, that's the cue. Okay, that's the trigger. So I just pushed, a button that a reference. Okay, now you have a craving, if you're like Kevin and I, you have a craving for maybe a McFlurry. Okay?
Big Mac.
Now there's the action, the behavior. Okay, we get up, we go get a McFlurry. Okay, and then the reward is the dopamine you get from the Oreo McFlurry. Oreo for me.
M&M for me. Please.
M&M.
Thank you.
M&M for Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, so that is a trigger that's creating a craving, which is creating a behavior, which is creating a reward. The reward is the pleasure center of the brain lighting up with all that sugar. Now, that's what I would refer to as a fairly negative trigger, okay? Because it doesn't lead you to the body or the health that you want. But the cool part about triggers is you can design the ones you want. So, for example, I have my foam roller in the corner of my room to try to remind me to foam roll. Doesn't always work, but I'm more likely to foam roll when I see it. You guys have heard out of sight, out of mind. That actually works. Think to yourselves right now, a time when you had just ended a bad breakup. Okay, and then you saw your ex post something on social media and it triggered all these emotions, right? See, those emotions that you're feeling that got stirred up, you think are happening just by accident. No, they're happening because you saw that post. See, the emotions were already there inside your subconscious, but that triggered them and they all came up. And then what did you do? Maybe you went and looked at their Facebook. Maybe you texted them. Maybe you avoided it. I don't know. But I do know that triggers are controlling our behavior and our behavior is controlling our life. You just have to become aware of what triggers are winning for you and which ones are negative.
What are some of your triggers? If you don't mind.
What are some of my triggers? So one in particular, and I've talked to Kevin about this a lot. When I used to watch, my favorite show is actually House MD, but one of my other favorite shows is Friends. And Kevin and I actually used to travel and watch Friends.
Let's come on. We didn't always travel. Sometimes we would get Big Macs and hang out in the studio and watch Friends.
Watch Friends. So one of my triggers in that sitcom, if they ever drank alcohol, I would, and a lot of you know that I had an alcohol challenge in the past, I would get triggered whenever they would be pouring a drink. And all of a sudden, I would wonder in the background, okay, what are they drinking? Is it whiskey or is it rum or is it beer? And then I would want to go get a drink. So that's a trigger for me. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk a lot about this too. They say that it's not just the alcohol or the taste, it's the actual bottle and the idea of putting a bottle to your mouth, right? And if anyone's ever struggled with addiction, they know what triggers are. And they know the person's places, things, and ideas that trigger their behavior. And so if you want to change a behavior, you have to change the trigger, but that starts with being aware of it.
The porn thing for me. I used to deal with porn addiction, and obviously it's super hard, especially with social media, because Instagram now is just like the Wild West, but that's definitely a trigger for me. And again, knowing your triggers. And I think the other thing too is staying committed to not giving into them.
Right. That's
a thing. Like, it's a conscious commitment of, I don't want to give in to my conditioning. I don't want to give in to my conditioning. One of the things I talk about often, say Taryn and I are out to dinner and she gets up and goes to the bathroom. My conditioning is to pull out my cell phone so I don't feel like people are judging me because I'm sitting there alone like Steven Glansberg. Steven Glansberg is a super bad reference for those who haven't seen it. Now, I literally try to go against that conditioning because I don't want my past habits to control my future self. So this really crosses over into everything. I know we're talking a lot about internal mindset stuff, identity, traumas, triggers, that sort of thing, but your habits too. What are you still doing today that you used to do in your past that is holding you back? I think that is a super, super important question. Like, if you were to rate, okay, if Alan and I were hanging out with you and we said, hey, let's just do like an audit on our habits. What is your day like? And this might actually happen.
Who wants to hang out?
So take me through your day. I want to go through your habits. How many of those habits have you designed recently, and how many are you doing them just because you always have? You're going to get the results in your life of the habits that you're practicing the most. So make sure they are up to date. What else do I have? So again, we've talked about this a lot. I'm sure we've jeffed something in this presentation thus far because we switched to a new platform and things are all over the place. Alan and I gave a speech to our buddy Michael Gorman, who actually commented. Shout out to Michael, the Movement family. We gave a speech to him and some of the people in the Movement family, and I did a terrible job. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it maybe like a 2. It wasn't my best performance. Okay. Alan and I went home, got McDonald's actually, believe it or not. And we reflected on this speech and where it went wrong. I remember telling Alan that if that was my first speech I had ever given, that might have been the last speech I ever gave, because I was so frustrated. I was so let down. I was so scared. I thought, and I assumed that that was going to happen again. Very similar to the strikeout earlier. Why can't it go right? Like, why can't it go right the second time? Ask yourself that question. Because I remember the next speech we gave, I believe, was in Florida, except it wasn't a speech. It was a live podcast interview.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking, and I've thought this many times before doing these and doing speeches, of like, you just bombed one. Don't let that happen again. So having a short memory is something they talk about in sports. Like, when it comes to your performances, try to create a short memory and understand just because it didn't go well doesn't mean it's going to go the same way. I don't think, again, going back to the things that from your past that really hurt, we're naturally afraid of those things reoccurring in our lives. I don't think the probability is any higher of it occurring than it did the first time. It's probably actually lower because I'm going to go to the drawing board and I'm going to prep a little bit harder. Right. One of the things I've said for forever when I was the motivational Instagram, Facebook guy before there was like videos, is you learn way more from your losses than you do your wins. When you lose and you're not exactly sure why, you have to go back to the drawing board and you have to check everything. Was it this? Was it this? Was it this? Was it this? When you win, you tend not to try to change anything, because you're afraid if you change something, you'll turn that win into a loss. So I think asking yourself that question, why can't it go right? Just because it went badly last time, what exactly is stopping it from going right this time? I think that is a beautiful thing to ask yourself in order to break that pattern.
And
There's
remember,
a question.
Hammer it.
Alan, did you have to let some people in your life go due to alcohol being a trigger? And if so, how to handle that situation?
Yeah. Powerful question. Thank you for whoever asked that. Yes, 100%. So a lot of my relationships up to 26 years old were predicated on fun. And, you know, alcohol was a part of that for sure. In high school, tail end, and then college as well. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't all bad, but I decided that I had a problem and I wanted to work on that. And the moment I set the intention to overcome my alcohol challenge, I had to make better choices. And part of those choices were to stay away from the persons, places, things, and ideas that triggered me. Now, as for the how, I wish there was an easy answer on this. There isn't. I still, you know, I'm 600 and something days now. I'm well over 600 days. I know that. Sober. And I remember the exact last time that I drank. It was in Westerly, Rhode Island. But basically, when you feel ready to be around your triggers, I think you can dip your toe back into those old relationships. But for a while, you're going to have to be very, very careful. And I think this is what I would tell you. Try your best. You know what? I'll do this. There was this person that I knew who told me this story once, and it blew my mind and it helped me so much overcome my alcohol challenge. This person was at a party with someone who struggled with alcohol, who was trying to quit drinking. And this person, we'll call this person Ned, and this woman, Sarah. I'm just making names up. Okay. Sarah was best friends with Ned, and Ned wanted to overcome drinking. Sarah and Ned went to a party with all their friends. Okay. Ned was getting peer pressured to drink. Okay. Sarah got so frustrated because Sarah knew that Ned was trying to overcome this alcohol issue. And Sarah said, all right, everyone here, stop. She shut off the music. Everyone here, stop. Who here is Ned's friend? Everyone raised their hand. Who here cares about Ned? Everyone raised their hand. Who here knows that Ned is trying to stop drinking? Everyone raised their hand. Who here has peer pressured Ned to drink tonight? Most of the hands went up. She said, I'll ask again. Who here is Ned's friend? And the hands didn't go up. So that story represents something interesting that I want you to really contemplate. If you have a goal that other people do not share, what's required of you to overcome that is different than what they're going to want for you, because they want you to be like them. That's okay. They want you to enjoy the fun of drinking with them. They don't have the awareness to realize how much that's affecting you. So it's on you. Take full ownership and stay out of rooms with people who peer pressure you.
Beautiful answer.
Thank you, brother.
I love that story. It's a great story. I've never heard you say that before.
Really?
No.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
You're up.
Oh, I'm up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I just got all in my feels here. All right. So this is actually a good segue to the last thing that I wanted to talk about. We've got 5 minutes on the clock.
Please don't take all of it.
I will not. So other people's perception of you is affecting you. I think we all want to believe on some level that like we are the masters of our own destiny. But the truth of the matter is that yes, internally, what we say, think, do, and feel and believe inside of ourselves definitely dictates, a lot of our actions. But you know what else does is external. Again, triggers, being around people who drink. So it's internal and external. Here's what I will tell you. Other people's perception of you is affecting you. I remember I was at dinner with a close friend of mine, and I remember asking her, who do you think about most often? And she sat there for a little while, and she was dating this woman at the time. And she told me the person, and I knew the answer. And I said, okay, how many times a day? How many times a day do you think about this person? And she's like, oh my God, like 1,000. I said, that person is influencing you more than any other human in the world. Why? Because you're always thinking about them. Okay, I said, I'm not fishing for compliments here, but how often do you think of me? And she said, honestly, probably like 10 or 20 times a day, like honestly, quite often. I said, I appreciate that. I am influencing you. Every single day, 20 times a day, who I am is influencing what you do and don't do, say and don't say, think and don't think, feel and don't feel, believe and don't believe. Every single day, 20 times a day. That is the effect that other people have on you. It is real. Harvard, they did a study. They said up to 96% of your success is predicated on your reference group. Kevin is in my reference group. When Kevin is more on point in fitness, I am more on point in fitness.
I apologize. I apologize for what's happening right now.
When Kevin succeeds and works hard, I want to succeed and work hard. We all want to fit in. Admit it. I do too. The question is, are you fitting into an excellence crowd that has and lives what you want? Or are you trying to fit in to people who are like your old conditioning? And if 96% of your decisions are predicated on your reference group, which is who you care about, who you love, you got to be very, very careful and proactive about understanding that whole process.
Boom. So Eminem's going to get 2 shout outs in tonight's meetup. Last 2 weeks ago, it was Amazon who kept getting the shout outs. Eminem has a quote. Somebody asked him why he succeeded at the level he did and why he never quit. And that was one of my questions I wanted to ask him. So damn whoever did that interview. But he basically said, I had so many people who doubted me. I had so many people who laughed at me. I had so many people who kicked me when I was down that I just wanted to prove them wrong. I knew I could be great and I wanted to prove them wrong. So what did he do? He literally left the pain or use that pain as motivation. Okay, so a lot of what we're talking about is not letting your past control your future. But what if you could in a positive way? Alan and I have had so many people tell us we're not going to make it. You're leaving your job to be a podcaster. There's no money in podcasting, blah, 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 blah. And here we are 600 episodes later almost, and we're still going strong and we're just getting started. We have an amazing team and we have the best listeners in the world. We have no fans, all family. But we took the lesson from the pain. We took the lesson from the doubt. We took the lesson from every single mistake we have made along the way. Alan and I and the team will talk after this, and we will say, hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? Right? We'll go through as a team and we'll figure out, okay, what are the wins? What did we do really, really well here? What did we not do so well? What can we improve next week? If you do that, your past will control your future, but it will be in a positive way. If you're searching for feedback consistently and you're taking that feedback and doing something positive with it, that's what's going to change your life. And you can use that as motivation. It's okay if people don't believe in you. Honestly, it's okay. They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in themselves first. So naturally, they're not going to believe in you. Don't take that as a promise or a guarantee or a concrete idea that you can't accomplish your goals. I would just say use it as motivation. I know it's easier said than done, but it's definitely possible. And again, at the end, when you make it, you can tell everybody, I told you so. You know what I'm saying?
This is a good one, man.
This was a good one. I hope everybody enjoyed the new platform. I know we had a bunch of people coming in and out. We got some comments from Facebook. We will improve as we go every single time. And also, long pause, stick around. Below in the video description, Amy put the Zoom link. So there's going to be a 20-minute post-speech meetup where you can meet the team. You can talk about what we talked about. You can share some of your past things that are controlling your future, ask questions, all of that happy jazz. Make sure you go. It's private. If you're afraid, you don't even have to turn your camera on. You can just observe. But we want to help you guys get to the next level. And getting out of your comfort zone and fear chasing is a great way to do it.
Really quickly, so if you're on Facebook and not already in Next Level Nation, which is our private Facebook group, there's a link in the description of this video to get into Next Level Nation. In Next Level Nation, that's where you'll find the Zoom credentials, because obviously that's a private room and we don't want anyone in there that shouldn't be in there. So thank you so much for joining us. Also, Book Club is launching this Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of that will also be in Next Level Nation. So join us, and thank you again.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We don't have fans. We have family.
Talk to you soon.